If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
We are live at Adams Jeep. We're in Aberdeen. We're doing autographs. We got kids of all ages here in Aberdeen, Adams Jeep. And it's all brought to you by Fremont Mortgage. We'll be doing these live shows all year long with Brian McKinnie, mostly on Wednesday nights, but it is a steamy Friday night up here in the land of Cal Ripken in Harford County, where they're still drinking in the Super Bowl championship. We're headed to Denver next week. Absolutely. We talked a little bit about Joe and about, him becoming the Super Bowl MVP. Somebody brought a helmet up here. He signs his autograph now. Super Bowl MVP. And I see that, and I watched the America's game. We've seen all this confidence. Is the offense any different this year than it was last year? Or are we just trying to find wide receivers and tight ends to learn the system a little bit better? I mean, because I guess with guys like Bolden, Pitta, these guys have been in the system 3-4 years. When Brandon Stokely's been in the system 4 weeks, I would think there are less plays you can run. Is that correct in saying that or no?
Probably less plays for him, but you still have Torrey and Jacoby that are there. I think that, like I said, giving them a few more weeks, they'll get acclimated like him in Dallas, and it'll become a big difference then.
Well, I mean, you're probably a great example because you came in late, right? You walked in here when training camp was already set. You missed OTAs, and that was during the strike year too, right? Yeah. So players didn't even have a chance to work together at all, and you had to come in and kind of learn the system.
Yeah.
Is this complex versus how many systems do you have in Minnesota? You probably had 2 or 3 different. You were there long enough that there were different offenses, right?
I had to.
Terminology changes right away.
It's the terminology that kind of gets you the most because you're used to saying one thing but it means something else. So.
Did Favre bring his system, or did
Favre did his own thing? His first year, he did his own thing. He was changing plays and huddles and everything. And he was on his own thing.
It worked.
But it did work.
It worked. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. So, learning this system, is it, and I guess trying to translate that to fans and what it would be like for new guys coming into this thing, or even like a guy like Tandon Doss trying to get it, the difficulty level, is it extraordinary as you see it?
Well, I've been around, so I was around 2 different offenses, and one of them was similar to this one here. Just the terminology was different, so it was easier for me to pick up the plays. I just had to get what certain things meant, like just change around, like, oh, this means this if this was my old offense. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So once you got that down, and once you keep repeating it over and over, you get used to it.
I think so much in preseason, we get kind of sick of seeing the guys that aren't going to make the team and watching the second half of last night's game. But for a guy like JJ trying to play his way onto the team, for a lot of players trying to play their way onto the team, I understand the significance of that. I just had a 3-2 baseball game last night in the 6th inning that I was kind of engaged with. But we haven't seen a lot of first-team offense in running. The third game, we played the half, into the second half. But we've seen less than one game of you guys. Do you feel like out on the practice field, the first team has gotten so many reps that the game situations and the injuries weren't there?
A lot of reps. Something called double down. So
what's that?
It's when you basically get all the reps. And they split it up, so like the second team or the third team will go here, and then we'll go at the same time. And we're all getting reps, so everybody kind of getting equal amount of reps. So everybody's getting reps.
Well, when you have 90 guys, you could field 2 full offenses and defenses, right?
Yep.
So scout team begins right away for Denver. I mean, you had a practice today. Very unusual because you wouldn't have necessarily practiced on a Monday after a game. But none of you guys played last night. None of the starters, anyway.
And we wanted to kind of get a jump start on Denver and some of the things we might see. And then on the film, like some of the people that's on the film not there anymore, And then,
some of them are in purple.
Yeah, and then you have Von Miller who's not playing. So we're just trying to watch some of the guys that we potentially will play against and get a feel for them.
I scouted Denver a little bit in the third game because they were on the night after I think we played. So I watched Peyton Manning play a little bit for when he was in there. And the whole Von Miller thing was interesting because he was playing. Mm-hmm. So you didn't get a look at what it was going to look like without him.
Yeah.
You only know what it looks like with him. For you, I guess, being the guy out on the left side, protecting the blind side and all that stuff, not having him in there must be... and certainly watching the film from 8 months ago, him and Doomerville being there, neither one of those guys are going to be there. For the guy protecting the quarterback, that's good news, right?
I don't care. If he's there or not. I'm still going to do my job. I don't care if he's there or not.
But in the case of Von Miller, when we were a different team without Suggs, without Ray Lewis, without our best players, I mean, I look at Von Miller as being their premier player, if not Doomerville.
A lot of the defense kind of went around based off of him. So, not having a premier player there, we'll slow them down a bit. But, I mean, our other guys have to step up. But,
speaking of stepping up on the defense and Elvis coming in and being a part of this thing, having competed against him, having to stop him, you must have been shocked the day that happened. Did he sign before you? Was he on the team before you came to the team? Mm-hmm. So it was the other way around. So you see him come over to the Ravens, the whole contract situation, the agent thing getting screwed up. Mm-hmm. That's good news, right?
No, that definitely was good news. I was like, gosh, I don't have to worry about him out there in Denver this year. He's on my team.
But when you practice against him, what do you see from him?
He has a great get-off, and he actually tells me what gives him difficulty with me. So it kind of gives me a good idea of what I need to keep doing and what I need to stop doing. And he also gave tips to Coach Harbaugh of things that me and Mike Orr may do to tip off if it's run or pass. So we know that now. So
Del Rio was coaching him up last year, wasn't he?
I guess so. So we know that now. So we're going to work on that during the week.
And I guess it's so subtle, right? Because it's a key, like when you're down in a three-point or you're getting ready that if you move left or move first.
It's something about your footing and things like that. I guess how much weight is on what foot, stuff like that. I guess they're looking at it. So he gave it to Harbaugh. Said something to me and Mike today about it. I was like, yeah, just get the tips from somebody because Dumerville gave it to him, so we're going to check it out.
All right, so the middle of our offensive line, Gino Gradkowski named the starter today, who was up here at Adams Jeep back in, I guess it was May, first week of June, whatever it was. And to see the sort of maturation for him to get this opportunity, I've thought all along, losing Matt Burke's a bigger deal. I mean, the fans were all caught up in Ray and Ed and even Kruger and Ellerby, the guys who got the money and all that stuff. But I thought Matt Burke quietly... there was something there, and I know from you, you have way history with him in Minnesota. Different with him not being around?
It's different because Matt kind of spoiled us as the offensive line because Matt will call out everybody's, like, what they had to do.
Well, he did go to Harvard, you know?
He did, so he was able,
no offense to your Miami education.
That's how you got this, right? That's how you got this. And like, so we was like, okay, we don't really have to we just listen to Matt. But, and then everybody was used to his snap count, like, you know, on the away games and stuff, so I think everybody got comfortable because at the beginning we were struggling with the silent counts, and me and Mike wanted to protest them for a minute, but then we just learned to keep practicing, and we got better at it.
Is that part of Joe's maturation too, having been around Matt for a couple of years and having had that guy smarter than him about protections and all that stuff being in there?
No, Matt was actually. Matt was correcting the coaches sometimes, so it definitely was good having Matt there, and it actually probably helped Joe, you know, having somebody else there that was, you know, pretty on point.
I guess it's been good for the offensive line to get Marshall back to playing a little bit more and getting full reps. It's you're a different O-line without him in there, and I think that would have said that 2 years ago when you look at the Jacksonville game where we didn't run the ball well and all the stuff with Cam and Ray Rice. The losses we had in the middle of that season, especially on the road, it was pretty obvious. Marshall's special.
Yeah, Marshall is definitely a great offensive lineman, a guard, so definitely need him. You just want to have your best people on the field to give you a better chance to win.
Now, I got some inside information today out in Denver. See, Marshall's from Iowa, so out in the middle Midwest, there's nothing near Iowa. The only NFL teams near would be like Chicago, maybe Minnesota, Green Bay, Kansas City. He's bringing the whole Yonda contingent to Denver. And I've partied with these people. Let me tell you what. These are. I drove through some farms up here off the back road, off of 22 up here. His family's coming to Denver. The big sports bar in Denver where we threw the party last year, the pre-party where all the Broncos fans said we were going to lose, and then the post-party where everybody in purple's dancing on the bar, and we're putting videos up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was nothing compared to what I saw on Federal Hill, I'll tell you that. But they said, Marshall Yanda's family's coming in on, the day of the game. We think it's going to be something. And I'm like, Denver, there's going to be a nice little purple contingent out there, I think, this week, traveling. But this whole Flacco thing on the side of the stadium.
I seen it on ESPN. But I couldn't hear what they were saying because it was on mute.
I saw it on Twitter and I almost thought it was a joke. So,
but they had a picture up at the
stadium. You've been to Super Bowls before, other than this year. So when you go to a Super Bowl, any city, they have the headquarters hotel. Usually they have life-size murals. Like in New Orleans, if you were down there, you saw there was Joe Flacco on one building, and I think it was Willis. I think Pat Willis was on the other building. So when you go to Super Bowls, they show these players because this is the kickoff game for the league, because Keith Urban's playing here, and because I'm not going to blame it on Peter Angelos, but I'm going to blame it on Peter Angelos just because I'm going to anyway, that we have to open on the road. They had their stadium decorated by the league. It wasn't decorated by the Broncos, and they're pitching this as a national game, and they put Joe Flacco 50 feet high on the side of the stadium and Peyton Manning on the other side, and people in Denver are going nuts. And I thought to myself, if the Orioles weren't in the way of this game Thursday, we would have either played Green Bay, New England, probably New England it would have been, maybe Houston, but probably New England. It probably would have been Tom Brady's picture up on the side of our stadium overlooking the track today, and it would have been Joe Flacco on the other side. I think we would have mutinied. I mean, they didn't like Brett Favre's image when he was wearing Green Bay in Minnesota, did they?
No. I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, you're gonna see when you pull up to the stadium on Thursday night. Joe's gonna be smiling.
I've seen it on TV.
And the league said it's not coming down, so it was a source of controversy. So for you with the offensive line, and having been moved around a little bit last year, having not been a part of it for a long time last year, and to get that gel together with what you're doing, with what Mike's doing, with Kalechi's doing, and we've already talked about Marshall and Gino, but with Kalechi through this train, in some of the games, he struggled a little bit this year, in the preseason games. For you with him into that position, just some thoughts about moving left to right and right to left, because I wrote about it a lot in the book. It was a big thing that happened last year.
It actually was in the amount of time, because it wasn't much time either.
It was the Cincinnati game.
Yeah, so you only had one game. Well, actually, the playoffs was actually the first
time Ray got after both sides of the ball. Yeah.
So, the move took place in the playoffs, and Mike was familiar with right. I was familiar with left, but Kalechi at guard, that was the thing we were worried about because he was a rookie, and then you had him playing right tackle all season, and then all of a sudden left guard. But, I mean, he did a good job. He's still doing a good job now. He might have had trying to do too much in the game the other day. Last week when me and him was in there, but he settled down. He's actually a really good player.
Yeah, I mean, he was solid last year all year long, and then you had that freak thing that happened in the Houston game, which is how you wound up on the field, right? I mean, you remember they air-casted him on the field, thought he was done. He walks back out in the third quarter is playing.
But I'm lucky because I had an injury during that time. I re-injured it during the game, so I had to come out. So luckily he was able to come back in.
Well, I think we got more depth now, right? I mean, and you got JJ, but you a lot of guys on the team.
Yeah, and you have
Ramon?
No,
that's right, he's gone.
Rick from Wisconsin. So we have a lot more depth this year.
So for you with passing the ball, the thing I think the fans are the most concerned about is who's going to catch the ball. I think we've all that's been what's been written about. That's what's been talked about.
Who are they saying they think are going to catch the ball?
Well, I think Torrey's going to catch the ball, right? But then beyond that, the question is Jacoby a number two? Can Brandon Stokely come out and play the slot? Is Tanner Doss going to step up? All the names that into the offseason about throwing the football in camp. What have you seen? Not in the games. I'm talking about. I'm thinking you guys have had 20 times the amount of reps behind the scenes than what we've seen in these crazy preseason games.
In camp, I'm gonna tell you, I see Torrey. I'm telling you, Dallas is going to come on real strong. I just had this feeling that he's been making some great catches in practice, like one-handed catches and everything. Jacoby.
He likes our stadium, Dallas Clark. Over the years, I can tell you that. I've seen him running away from our defenders one too many times. Dallas Clark is the ultimate Raven killer. I mean, this would have been like bringing Hines Ward in or something. Really, it was.
And I think Brandon do a good job, and I think he'll play as a distraction too. Because some people are key on him, you know what I mean? And he'll get some other receivers open.
Well, nobody here is going to have a hard time cheering for Brandon Stokely. Brandon Stokely's a living legend in Baltimore from that first Super Bowl 35 catch. We got Brian McKinnie. We're at Adams Jeep. It's in Aberdeen. Great parts, service, the whole showroom. They break it all apart for us. We do some live shows up here. We do appreciate the staff up here doing that, as well as Fremont Mortgage, our sponsor. We'll step out. We'll take a break. We're raising money for Living Classrooms tonight. We're up here in Aberdeen for the holiday on Labor Day, getting ready for the kickoff game in Denver with Keith Urban at the Harbor. We got the big man Brian McKinnie out here. We're going to bring JJ up here and talk to him. Some fresh meat. There's no hazing. Harbaugh does not allow hazing, JJ. There'll be no hazing up here.
All right.
But I got to find out. So I've got the bio in front of me. For any of you that can give me 2 points, if you can tell me where Midwestern State is. Don't tell them. Don't give them the answer. It's the Jeopardy question. We'll come back and answer that right after this.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.